So we are doing a little bit of a different thing for a different format for poetry this week. You can still see me, but you're going to be able to see what I'm doing on the computer too, which is pretty important this week because we are going to talk about a new type of poem. So far this year we've talked about list poems, and I have an example right here. It's called The Collector. Buttons in a jar, songs in my head, knock-knock jokes, rocks all red, long pencil shavings, old dog hair, belly button lint, ribbons from the fair, prickly pine cones, autographs too, pearly-swirly seashells, friends like you, words in a notebook, leaves from my tree, everything I collect is free. So that was just a list of things that this author collected. List poems are pretty easy. You can pick anything and list out anything that has to do with it. Then we also talked about song poems. That was last week, so I have an example of a song poem. This is called Fall, and it goes like this. Leaves are falling to the ground without a sound. Days are getting shorter, nights are growing longer. Fall is here, fall is here. Okay, so obviously that has melody, you can sing to it, but it's still a poem, it's still about a specific topic. And we also listened to Wings by Little Mix, and we talked about how songs are poems, so that's obviously still an option. And then the last thing we talked about were alliteration poems, and alliteration is when you use the same sound or the same letter at the beginning of each word as much as you can. So my example is called weather. Whether the weather be fine, or whether the weather be not, whether the weather be cold, or whether the weather be hot, we'll weather the weather, whatever the weather, whether we like it or not. That is also a tongue twister, so if you would like to try saying that one, it's pretty fun, but it can be a little tricky, so maybe you'll have to see if you guys can say it and send me a video of you saying the weather poem. So those are the types of poems that we've gone over so far. And of course, you can always write whatever type of poem you want. You never have to write one of these kinds of poems. You can just get your thoughts down. Okay, but we are going to learn about something new. So we are going to be talking about an acrostic poem, which I think is like the very first day that we ever learned about poetry in second grade. I think we talked about acrostic poems, but I wanted to go back to talking about acrostic poems and give you guys a second chance at them. So an acrostic poem is where you have a word that goes down the side just like this. So you can see the word poem is all in pink letters down the side, P-O-E-M, poem. But then you write lines, you write things that have to do with your word on each line, and you have a word that starts with that letter to start that line. So it says put 3 words on each line, easy if you make it rhyme. So the acrostic poem always has this word down the side. Okay, so the first thing you need to do when you have an acrostic is you need to pick your topic, and then you need to think about things that have to do with acrostic poems. So let's check out a couple more examples of acrostic poetry. So in this example, we have this word down the side, the word sun. So we know that this poem is going to be all about the sun. And all of these, the lines in the poem are going to be about the sun, and they have to start with the right letter. So you can see the first word here is sun, which starts with an S. The first word here is up, which starts with a U. And the first word here is nice, which starts with an N. So for an acrostic poem, that's sometimes the trickiest part is thinking of words that start with the right letter. So then once you read the poem, it says, sun shines brightly up in the sky, nice and warm on my face. Okay, so it's still all about the sun, and they spelled out the word sun here at the beginning. This one, you can see we've got, whoops, summer is the word that's spelled out along the side here. Okay, so each word is has to start with the right letter. So this first word is smearing, it has to start with an S. This has to start with a U, so they chose the word under. This has to start with an M, so they had to so they chose melting. This is another M, and that's sometimes tricky, is when you have to do more than one letter multiple times. This one, it has to be an M, so they chose massive. This one starts with an E, so they chose everyone, and this one has to start with an R, so they chose ready. So when you read it, it says, smearing on sunscreen under the umbrella for shade, melting popsicles, massive waves, everyone happy, ready to play all day. So you might notice that an acrostic poem is very similar to a list poem. All they really did here was they listed things about summer. They listed memories of summer or things you might do during summer, which is exactly the same thing we did when we were talking about list poems. The only difference is it's sort of like adding on one more element, making it just a little bit more complex and making it start with these letters in the word summer. Okay, so it's just exactly like a list poem, but we're sort of pushing it to the next level. We're pushing ourselves now that we've had time to practice these. So now let's talk about how to write an acrostic poem. The way that you write an acrostic poem is you need to first pick your topic. So your topic can be anything, but especially when you're first starting with acrostic poems, you might want to pick a topic that only has a few letters. Like stick with a word that's not going to have more than like 5 letters, because it starts to get pretty tricky after that. So some popular ones, you could do mom, you could do dad, let's see, you could do dog or cat, you could do spring, summer, all of those words that don't have very many letters in it, but that you can think of things like a list poem. So I'm going to choose the word book. So the word book only has 4 letters, so it's not going to be very hard. And what I do is I write the word book like this, up and down. B-O-O-K, book. Okay. So now book is my topic, and I need to think of words or phrases about a book that start with these letters. So I just want to focus on the first letter, the B, for right now. So what about books starts with a B? Obviously books starts with a B, but I have to think of something a little bit more creative. So let's see, books bring me to a new place. Okay, so that's what's going to go there. I'm going to write bring me because I don't want to waste your time. So bring me to a new place. And then I need to move on to my O. So things about books that start with O. So bring me to a new place. O, over, let's see, over to a fairy tale, maybe. So now I'm sort of talking about the places that books can bring me over to a fairy tale. It's really hard to write with this, you guys, which is why I'm trying not to write with it so much. Over to a fairy tale. Now I have another place. Now I have another O. So outer space. That's books can bring you to outer space. So outer space. And then I need to think about K. So something about books that starts with a K. They keep me smart. That works. Keep me smart. So keep me smart. So now I have an acrostic where I know people will know what my topic is because I wrote my topic, B-O-O-K, up and down on the side. And then I made sure that every word, I went down and made sure that every word started with the right letter. So now this is what it sounds like. Books bring me to a new place, over to a fairy tale, outer space, keep me smart. So it's really just a list poem. I just listed things about books that I like, but I made it a little bit harder. I just challenged myself a little bit more to turn that list poem into an acrostic. Okay, so this week you can try an acrostic poem. Sometimes those can be hard to type out on the computer, so if you'd rather have mom or dad or whoever send me a picture, that's cool. You can try an acrostic poem, or of course you can do a list poem, an alliteration poem, you can write a song, or you can just write down some thoughts. Okay, poetry, as usual, is very open, and you get to decide what you're going to do. So, really the only other thing I have for you guys this week is to get to writing, and then I will also post a couple of examples after you watch this video to give you some more ideas. All right, guys, go get writing.